I was recently asked by a record company in New York if they could put a single by a band I played with in the late 70s and early 80s on a compilation LP they were planning on putting out. It must have been 1978 and New Musical Express were allowing free ads for musicians looking for musicians. I posted Power Pop for Tomorrow People and Gary answered. We took a break in our first rehearsal. We were in a bar and Blondie were on Top of the Pops for the first time playing Denis Denis. Gary had provided a squash club in Harefield to rehearse in, and I bought a bass player and drummer. We were in our very early 20s and we had a pretty good jangly pop group with a snappy name. We settled on a line-up, Gary on rhythm guitar and vocals, Tim on bass and vocals, Neil on drums and I was lead guitar. We played pubs in London, we drove around in a van. We had to have a van. You were not a real band without a van. You needed a van to carry a decent PA system. A comparable system would now fit in the boot of a car, but our PA, cobbled together from cheap second-hand and handmade items, needed a transit. We named our transit Wee Wee Van, which is an anagram of New Wave. Our basic PA attracted our previous bass player to come back and be our sound man. He went on to work for Motorhead. We played all over, from Watford to Tooting, from Uxbridge to Peckham. And we recorded some demos, one of which was at a studio on West Wycombe Road we had chosen because it had the same name as us, Chevrons. We entered the Harrow heat of the Melody Maker contest. There must have been 15 acts, all of which nervously set themselves up and waited to be told to start. But we launched ourselves noisily onto the stage wearing shiny t-shirts with different coloured skinny ties we had bought from King's Road. There was only one winner and technically it was not us, but only one act other than the winner was mentioned in the Melody Maker and that was us. If we have learnt anything from the history of rock and roll, it is that 3 songwriters in a band does not work. And as Tim had basically joined mine and Gary's band, it was inevitable he would want to move on and start his own band. So we had some good songs that needed playing and we needed a new bass player. But for a while, we sounded like this. Neil the drummer's brother, Andy, and a friend of his we nicknamed Gobber John, used to roadie for us. We would pick them up from school and squeeze them in the back of the van. We all used to hang out at the Royal Oak in Harrow, and one night the roadies introduced me to a pretty young girl they knew who was singing along with the jukebox. She was called Anna Marie and had a definite hint of a St. Trinian's kind of naughty about her. And she knew the kind of jokes you need to know to be one of the boys. We arranged to meet at a rehearsal studio in Watford to try out a bass player and we invited Anna along. 2 bass players turned up. One was wearing his London Transport work uniform and the other one was an amusing French hippie we all knew called Denny, or Denis Denis. Denny could jam the songs and got the job. The problem was that he always jammed the songs and he didn't have a bass, so he always had to borrow one. He became my friend, so it was me that had to sack him when he missed the gig in Barnet. This was all a bit too much of mice and men for me, but it had to be done. He was replaced by Brian but stayed on as manager. Anna Marie, on the other hand, became our star player.
The birds don't sing, a bat flies by. It seems like a dream. You step into the porch, but you can't find your torch. The clock strikes 12, you gotta scream. Thought instead you had nothing to hide. Now you're telling me your Frankenstein's right. You look well, or are you undead? What's that bolt doing sticking out your neck? What's that bolt doing sticking out your neck?
Brian persuaded us to also recruit a singer he had been in a band with. She was called Jenny. And then we had a band that really had potential. Brian had a PA system and I had a van. We now had a lot of equipment, 6 in the band and roadies and girlfriends to carry. So we got a very big van and partitioned off the back for the gear and put a bench in the front. We even carried a portable TV. Sometimes Denny went out to get us gigs and slept in the van overnight outside my house so I could drive it to work in the morning. Then he would pick me up so we could load up for that evening. One morning he woke up to tell me we were playing the Rock Garden in Covent Garden that night. I seem to remember that was the night he got picked up by a rich woman and held captive as her sex slave till I got the call to pick him up 2 days later. When we were not playing gigs or rehearsing, we would often be hiring out our PA system, but keeping the show on the road used all the money we made. We memorably did the PA for Reckless Eric at the Nag's Head. We also did the Soft Boys and Barracudas at the Africa Centre in Covent Garden, and I think that was the night we were caught up in a bomb scare. We recorded a single in a studio in Southall and sold it at our gigs. They put it on the jukebox in the Royal Oak. We would listen to it on our nights off. It was never us that put it on though. That would have been totally uncool. We played regularly at the John Bull in Chiswick, the Two Brewers in Clapham, the Windsor Castle in Paddington, and the Hamborough Tavern in Southall. We had a mascot we would hang up behind the drums. It was a 5x4 picture of a dinosaur we had found in a skip behind some shops. Probably a promotional thing. We called him Snorvek. We had a regular gig at the Swan on Hammersmith Broadway until we were replaced by an up-and-coming heavy metal band called Iron Maiden. At the end of the night we made mammoth journeys around London, dropping everyone off. We were almost certainly having the time of our lives. If Denny was driving, at every junction I would tell him which way to go and he would shout at me to not treat him like an idiot. This happened every time except when I did not tell him. And we would just be stuck there till he shouted at me to tell him which way to go. And he would then point out how annoying it was that I always had to be right. We would all argue, especially Denny and I, but we were a team. We were a band of brothers, including the girls. Anna used to give me piggyback rides and named me Lump, a shortened version of her original name for me, Meat Lump. Anna used to cut our hair. On sunny days her parents' back garden would become her salon. She would wet our hair with cold water from a bucket. We all had our uses. Gary got us donkey jackets, which were quite fashionable. Neil was a printer and made us flyers, and Brian had a very well-paid job, so was able to buy equipment. His parents also had an unused garage, which we converted into a rehearsal studio. I remember an almost perfect gig at a college in Egham. We played well. We had fun driving the van round the playing fields with Anna changing gear. That was the gig before both the girls left. Soon after that we had all our guitars stolen. We kept going, but the dream was over. My last encounter with the young Anna was at the Lyceum. It was at a cult gig. I was guest list ligging with a friend who worked for the record company, and Anna was with a pop star boyfriend. She complimented me on my eyeliner, but she still called me Lump. Many years later we all found each other on Facebook. Myself, Gary, Brian, Anna and Tim have appeared together in various combinations and have seen each other play. Anna and Jenny both died too young, and Gary, Brian and I played at Anna's funeral in March 2018. The thing that unites those that had success and those who were also Rans is that we all have a story, and we were all heroes of the night.
Well, living ain't easy when you're dying to be loved by you. I don't like to keep on trying, but what else can